all this stuff that you see here in front of me, I have to somehow fit into this bag. And yep, this is the Wandrd Provoke, and this is in the Gobi Tanned. This is the 21 liter as well. So is this gonna work? Stick around to find out. So as many of you know, this is a bag that is on many YouTube reviews. So there's really no need for me to do a first look video of this since everyone knows what the bag is all about. So I'm gonna slightly switch gears here. I'm gonna do sort of a combined first look, but not really first look, and a full review right now. So this is really a review that's much more about how the bag works for my particular needs, which may not be your needs. And of course, if I have to fit all this stuff, then I'm really looking at this as an everyday carry more than I'm looking at this in terms of how well it does as a camera bag. And the Wandrd is really, I would say, 75% camera bag, 25% everyday carry. So it certainly is a crossover day pack of sorts. I would just say that it's probably more towards the camera bag weekend side of things than it is towards the weekday, everyday carry that I need to have for the work that I do. The first thing I should do is pack this thing up on screen so I can show you how well it fits all this stuff. There you have it. I just packed it all up into the Wandrd Provoke 21. And let's talk about the design and usability of this bag first. So I would say there are a couple things that are sort of, I knew what I was getting into when I bought this bag, but I didn't realize what kind of a headache it was. The roll top seems like it would be a great thing, but the fact is it's not nearly as convenient and fast as a zipper. Of course, I knew that. I mean, it's a roll top. It's not like Wandrd was trying to trick me into thinking it wasn't going to be a roll top bag. But I guess I thought that I'd be able to overcome it, but I really am having a hard time with it, especially because it's so loud. I mean, because it's Velcroed in there, and I'm not quite sure why it really needed to be Velcroed in there, it's super loud to open this up and then get access to this top compartment here. So much so that I actually don't use this top compartment for anything. And so I probably should, there's a divider that divides both sections. I should probably just take that down and have it as one big continuous compartment area. I do think that I realize now that a roll top design probably isn't for me unless there is side access or rear access. This has rear access, but you'll see that the rear access isn't that convenient. So let's talk about that. I'm going to go ahead and roll this up. Oh, and also this this metal buckle here, it may look cute, but it's not super functional. I think I would have preferred just to have a piece of webbing wrapping over the top and then a you know, one of those fast techs, or what are they called? One of those these type of buckles. These fast. But clearly this is sort of this Wandrd thing here. This is their signature, and if they got rid of it, I don't think it would be the Wandrd Provoke bag. Okay, so let's take a look at the rear access here. And you do have to take this the handle out of the way in order to get access to the zipper. Not a big deal. The magnet isn't all that strong, so you can just pull it off, pull it back, and sweep this around. Now, it's really important that you unzip this thing all the way to the bottom, and you'll see in a moment why that's the case. And even though I've unzipped it all the way to the bottom, it still isn't perfect. So I open up the back. Now, keep in mind that I have my my computer in here as well as my iPad. So this is a pretty heavy back that's going to flop down here. And you can also see that I have a file folder that's just sitting here. There's no slot for it. It would have been nice if there was a slot across here, but there isn't one. So I have to have it loose in there, which isn't ideal, as you can imagine. And you can see here that I have my iPad in here. Now this is a super tight fit, and probably it's because this isn't designed for an iPad, the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. It's designed more for the 10.5-inch or even the 9.7-inch iPad more than mine. And then right behind that easily fits my 13-inch laptop. Okay, so this is what I want to draw your attention to. See what's going on here? How if this is opened all the way, that it gets all crimped here. And I think that's sort of unavoidable, because I think it would have been better had they made this zipper come all the way around, maybe another inch and a half or so around here. Then this would have hinged open better without crumpling the bottom. And the reason why that's an issue has to do a lot with getting access to this piece. So when you unzip the area, and normally this area behind here would contain this guy, which is their camera. It's probably not called an ICU. Maybe it is called an ICU. But this is the camera insert that goes right in here. And so this opens up to expose it so that you can get access to your gear. The problem is, if you're not using this piece right here, re-zipping this thing every time, which in a sense you'd have to do, because your stuff would come pouring out potentially if you don't. It's really hard to re-zip this now because of the warping of that corner. You really have to slow down and think about what you're doing there to make sure that you don't mess up the zipper. And even though these are YKK zippers, this is a pretty small YKK zipper. This is probably something like a 4. I'm not even sure, but it's a small YKK zipper. And even though YKKs never fail, I do worry about that. That would be a failure point here in this part of the pack. So you can see here I have some organizing little panel or bags here. These are made not by these are made by Gear, not by Wandrd, but these are some of the best bags that I have actually I've seen. So Gear, go look up at they're called their etc. bags. This is the medium one, this is their small, and this is their large, although it's sort of like a 1 liter, much more structured bag. Okay. And then you can see this is an open area. If I want to, I can pull down this divider like so, and it sticks to the back wall nicely, making this a large area, a larger compartment that I could deal with. It's sort of odd, right, in that then I have this mesh pocket which goes to nowhere. In some ways, I think I would have rather have had the zipper completely go all the way around, or have an option to even remove this upper compartment as well. So then I would have just been accessing the main compartment through the back of the bag. And then I'd have a non-issue. I wouldn't ever have to go in through the top, the roll top. So anyway, I think there are some ways in which I can configure this to make it work a little bit better for me, but it's not ideal. And again, well, I'm not even going to bother trying to zip that back up again because it's such a pain. I really like the fact that they have an expandable water bottle pocket like you see here, because if you need to put in something much bigger, you can. Something like this, hydro flasks, right? The small hydro flask can fit in there without expanding it, and so that's what I do. However, this clasp, which is really designed, this quick release, that's what these are called, plastic quick release buckles. If it was a little bit lower, or maybe if there was a second one that would be able to trap the bottle inside here, I think that would be preferred, because even though you can put it in here, it's a relatively shallow pocket, and I've had the bottle bounce out on occasion as a result. So I've actually had to extend the handle. Let me just show that to you. So I have extended the loop, I guess, on the bottle, and then I can fit it in like that, right? So I guess that works. It just is a headache to take out your water bottle now if you ever have to. So it would have been better had they just made it a slightly deeper pocket and maybe even gusseted it so that had an elastic that would keep it in there a little bit better. Okay, so let me go ahead. But ultimately, since you could be using this as a camera backpack, this is where you'd put a couple legs of your tripod, and then you'd clip this around all 3 legs of the tripod near the head, and it would hold in there nicely. So it's not only designed for a water bottle. All right, and then on the other side here, we have the weirdest pocket ever. This is a pocket that's really designed only for your keys. It even has, as you can see here, a key clip. It's too small for just about anything else. I mean, I don't know. I think this is sort of a waste of a pocket. Had they just simply made the zipper open up all the way to this point right here, I think that would have made this a much more usable pocket, because maybe I could put in my wallet in there. I could put my sunglasses in there. There are any number of things that I could have chosen to put in there. But because it's got such a small opening, it really is only useful for putting in, as you know, for your keys, which is what it's designed for. It is nice to have this side opening to be able to get access to your camera equipment or even anything that's in here. I think that's pretty convenient there. And you'll see here that there's a little zippered compartment here, and this is where I have to keep my pens and pencils because there are no pen or pencil slots. That's a killer, right? Now, having no pen or pencil slots for a bag that you're going to use every day for work is not a good situation. All right, and in terms of other access, I want to draw your attention to this big slash pocket, this big flat pocket here, which is pretty much the entirety of the opening, although it doesn't go past this zipper, so you lose about an inch here, but it does go all the way to this seam over on that end. Unfortunately, this is just one big open pocket. And you can see that everything just sort of falls around inside of it. And if you were to pick it up in this way, everything would just fall right to the bottom. So there's a very limited number of things that you'd really want to put in there. I just wish it was divided. Even if they had it divided in two, and so you had two separate pockets here, I think that would have been so much more useful. Having a giant size pocket like this, it just doesn't do it for me. I'm not sure what I would be able to put in here and keep things organized. And then you think, oh, well, why don't you just put your file folder into that big area? So if you try that, notice this is your typical file folder that holds 8.5 by 11 or letter size stuff. It slides in there pretty nicely, but note that right there, the tab actually doesn't quite go all the way down in there. And so you end up damaging the tabs, which I can't really afford to do because I have this organized to go into a file cabinet at work, etc. So it's just a little bit not deep enough or wide enough to be able to fit a file folder. Maybe like a Moleskine notebook, or maybe if you want to put your iPad in here, although there's no padding, so that's not a great thing. Again, I think this would have been a great organizer panel where if they just had a couple of pockets here and then maybe two slots for pencils or pens. That would have made all the difference in the world in terms of the usability of this pocket. So there you go in terms of the design and the usability of this bag. I would say that on balance, some parts work, some parts don't. And it's the parts that don't that really kill me. And so this earns sort of a bad grade, a 6 out of 10. That's a D-. Given that I'm a teacher, that's a bad grade. Now, let me put forward one caveat here, which is that I am really looking at this in terms of its ability to be an everyday carry bag. But if I were to be looking at this purely as a photography bag, a camera bag with the camera insert in there, I'm not trying to carry all the tech gear that I have. Very few things I'm going to be carrying if I'm taking this somewhere on the trail on the weekend or through a city if I'm visiting a city. And in that case, when you have the camera insert in there, this bag is actually great. It really, it serves its function better than I expected it to. And the fact is, because it doesn't look like a camera bag, although at this point, since everybody knows what these bags look like and what they contain, they probably would know there's a camera in there, but it's fairly understated. It doesn't scream that I have a camera in here. And so I think in that regard, it really is one of the best small kit carrying bags that I have. It's not quite as comfortable as, say, this bag right here, the Mind Shift, after I converted it, right? This Mind Shift is probably better if you're on the trail. It's more comfortable. It has a built-in waistband, which really supports the weight better. This also has the option to have the waist belt, but it's a detachable waist belt, and they're not nearly, they can't be nearly as comfortable to carry loads as having one that's permanently fixed to the bag. Okay, so anyway, that's the caveat that if you're more inclined to use this as a camera bag, as a camera backpack, that this will probably serve you incredibly well. Let's talk about the next thing. Okay, and that is the comfort of this bag. I have to say that this suspension system that you have back here is... Let's scooch this out of the way. Get out of here. Is this still... There we go. All right. This is probably one of the most comfortable suspension systems that I've worn. It's stiff enough back here. It doesn't have a frame sheet per se, but it's got a lot of high-density foam. You can see here that it has raised spaces to allow for ventilation, and that reminds me, in terms of accessibility and usability, this pocket back here is super handy. Hidden, I keep my wallet back there. It's got 2 slots. You can put a passport in there. Forgot to mention that. Unfortunately, that doesn't change the overall 6 out of 10 score because there are some other issues with the bag, but that is sort of something that I should point out that I do use and I do like it. And then these, in terms of the shoulder straps themselves, I love the fact that there are lots of daisy chains where I can hang things off of, but more importantly, wide. It's got, again, a nice stiff foam in there that really, it feels super comfortable to wear this, even when I have it loaded down with my camera kit. It's just really, it's a well put together bag. It's very easy to carry for a long period of time. It helps that you have this handle here that allows it to be able to just be used as a bag where you can just grab it off the front seat of your car and then drag it out, quickly toss it around in that regard. So I don't know, I just find this to be really a super comfortable bag, and so it deserves a 9.5 out of 10. It's not quite as good as like this Radial 26 that you see here that has the trampoline back to it. Basically, that's the only thing that gets a 10 here. But it's really damn close for something that doesn't have that trampoline feature and the and having an actual wire frame inside of it to keep the thing much more comfortable and off your back. In terms of the build quality of this bag, this is an interesting thing here because there's no doubt that it's made with really premium stout materials. I love this tarpaulin on the front. It's great at shedding water and dirt. Some people have complained that it gets scratched, but because I have the Gobi tan color, you can't see any scratches on this thing, so that's a huge benefit. And then you can see here that it's got some really tough ballistic nylon on the bottom, as well as, I should probably open this up for you so you can see this a little bit better, but this is all ballistic nylon with the Velcro or hook and loop there. Plastic in here to keep it stiff and make it easier for you to load and unload. High quality quick release buckles here. They are all probably the name brand. Are they Nifcos here? Yep. So they are the brand name quick release buckles. The only thing I will say, oh, and all the zippers themselves that are on the outside are these weather resistant reverse coil zippers. So that's super nice. So every single zipper that you can see, oh, except for the one that's hiding my wallet back here. This is not a weather-resistant zipper. Still reverse coil. The only thing I would say is that the size of the zippers are much smaller than I would have expected in a bag in this sort of price range. I'm so used to having 8s or 10s, especially in areas that are going to take a lot of abuse. And in particular, I would think that this zipper in the back, it is a beefier zipper than the ones on the front, but it doesn't feel beefy enough for me, given how often I'm going to be going into and out of this bag, as well as how the entire bag is essentially supported by this zipper, right? Since the suspension system is here, you're carrying the whole bag, and you're making sure that you have to ensure that this zipper is going to be able to support that bag for years. So I think they could have beefed up that zipper a little bit more, and then I would have felt a little bit more confident. But they are YKK zippers. YKK zippers don't fail, so and a smaller zipper is a little bit easier to open and close, perhaps. So maybe they know what they're doing more than I do, and so I shouldn't complain. But I do know that there are bags that have beefier zippers, also YKKs, for a very similar bag situation here. So altogether, though, I would say that the overall build quality and workmanship here is really top-notch, and I would give that a 9 out of 10. The last piece, which is the crossover index, and that's the degree to which you can use this bag on the trail and not make it look like you should be wearing a business suit, but also you could wear it with a business suit and not make it look like you should be on the trail. And I think this bag does a great job of that. It does have, a nice clean look to it. And the only thing I would say is that the roll top makes it a little bit more casual, and having the black buckles across, it's not perfect. It's not going to be as professional. And frankly, I also got it in the Gobi tan, which is a little bit less professional than all black, perhaps. But altogether, I would say this is probably a 2.5 out of 3 in terms of its crossover ability. And, that's pretty much as high as you're going to get, unless you have something that can completely transform magically with a new face to it. Okay, so if I calculated this correctly, it should be that this bag itself earned a 27 out of a possible 33 points, which is really high, frankly. And I think none of you should be surprised that this is one where I've decided I'm not going to... Nah, just kidding. I'm going to have this be a use it. So this is definitely going to be a keeper for me. It's not perfect, but it's close. I can't see it replacing my current favorite bag, which is the Green Room 136 Rainmaker, this guy right here. Oops, things are falling. So this is my current bag. I find that the combination of workmanship and accessibility and usability is so extraordinarily high for this guy. So not many things are going to beat that. So it's close, but it's no cigar. But I will tell you again that in terms of being a travel pack where you're going to be traveling with some small camera kit, as well as other things that you're going to bring with you to London, whatever it is, I think this thing would be really perfect. And so there you have it. I hope this was helpful. And this wasn't like all the other reviews, although my fear is that it is kind of like all the other reviews of the Wandrd Provoke 21 liter. Don't forget to subscribe if you found this useful, and take a look at my other videos. Thanks.